Okay. Call to order the Village of Lake Bluff Sustainability and Community Enhancement Ad Hoc Committee for Thursday, February 27th, 2020. Can I get a roll call, please?
Certainly. Member Bishop.
Here.
Members Sorensen is absent. Member Twitchell.
Here.
Co-chair Purrier.
Here.
Co-chair Renner.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay. Start off with consideration on the February 3rd, 2020 Sustainability and Community Enhancement Social Meeting Minutes. Any comments, additions, changes? Okay, hearing none. Do we need a roll call or?
Voice vote is fine.
Voice
Just
vote?
need a motion
All
and a
in-
second.
The motion and second, please.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. At this point, we reserve time of 15 minutes for non-agenda items for anyone in the audience. I don't think there are any non-agenda items. So we'll move on to the general order of the meeting, general business.
Certainly. So this is this meeting timed how it is for the renewal of the village's chicken pilot program permits. So there are two. There's the Drown family, and then the hybrid, if you would, Purrier and McAfee.
More
family.
McAfee.
More McAfee. And so this opportunity is both to give them a time to present, and also, you know, we send notices to neighbors by mail. We publish it in the village newsletter. If there were anyone else who wished to come forward and express themselves on these matters, they'd have an opportunity to do so. We received no public comment regarding this. So perhaps a good idea if we take Ms. Purrier and Ms. McAfee first, and then Ms. Drown's unable to join us, or Mrs. Drown, I should say. I can give you a brief update on her. Again, at the conclusion of each of these, you'll need to vote to recommend that they be renewed, or if there were some reason not to renew them, you would recommend that as well.
But both are requesting renewal.
Yes.
I'd love to hear about the experience.
Okay.
Yes.
Please.
We'll just put you at the mic for.
And I'm so sorry, I sent them late. I saw that you
No, it's quite all right.
preferred to have them.
Oh, Robin.
I just put,
From birth to eggs.
So much.
Yeah, so you can just hit space, or you can just go right arrow like that.
okay.
Oh, we're so cute.
I just really put together,
Oh, since we're on camera, name, address, social security number, all that good stuff.
No, social
Credit card number.
Name and address.
100 East North Avenue. And we got baby chicks in July. And I put together some pictures of them from, just chronologically, so you could see how they grow. But I don't know if you have specific questions that you'd like me to answer, or just talk about the experience. But we received the chicks in the mail, which I was surprised about, from a hatchery in Ohio. And they mail them when they are 1 day old. We receive them when they're 2 days old.
And they all made it?
They all made it. I picked them up at the annex of the post office, and I was afraid to open the box, actually, because of that. And there they were. And they were pretty easy to take care of. In the beginning, right here, they're in a Rubbermaid tub, like a clear plastic one with newspaper shavings and a waterer and some pellet food, like some chick food. And they took right to the water. It was pretty easy. They were very instinctual, so they did everything that they were supposed to do, and not a lot of training. The biggest challenge was keeping the temperature right, because when they're babies, when they come out of the box, they have to stay between 95 and 105 degrees. Luckily, it was summer, but if you tried to do that now, you would almost have to have them in your house. If you tried to get baby chicks in the spring, I would think, or if you have a heated garage. But we could keep it between 95 and 100 in the garage with a heat lamp if it was getting below 70 or something. But that was the biggest challenge. Let's see if I can.
And you did some research on which chicks you wanted to have.
Oh, right. So 3 of these chickens are New Hampshire Reds, and 2 of them are silver-laced Wyandottes, and they're supposed to be beginner chickens because they're very instinctual and mild-mannered, and they are good egg layers. So that's why I chose the ones that I did, and Marina and I gave them names, of course.
Yeah, lesson number 1, don't do that, but it does
Oh,
make it
well.
easier to be able to identify which one's doing something or not doing something correctly.
Right, and I would say right away they became just like any pet you would have, because they were very personable. They each had distinct personalities immediately. One was goofy, one was practical, one was a motherly chick. So this is about 5 days in, and you can see feathers coming out on their wings, which I thought was pretty interesting, how quickly they grew. Just a close-up of their wings. Oops. And then this is their teen years. They get pretty weird looking for about a week and a half, I would say.
It was
Little
tough to-
dinosaurs.
Just like real humans.
Yeah, it was-
they're real
Exactly.
Yeah,
tweens.
tweens. Yeah, exactly. It was tough to love them then.
Yes.
I don't know, they seem very dinosaurish to me. And
scary.
The similarity to dinosaurs is incredible, especially their eyesight. I think we both learned that their eyesight's incredible. I mean, the second or third day,
They were going after mosquitoes in their plastic bin. Like,
Awesome.
and they could,
and catching them,
yeah, it was unbelievable.
it really was.
But we did graduate from the plastic bin to the coop,
Right.
which was, for those of you that are old enough, there used to be playpens for children that were made out of wood and mesh sides.
I
that
have
were-
one in my basement.
Okay, well, they're ideal for chickens for starting out,
And that's what they're in
All
this
right,
picture.
I have a use.
yes.
All right.
And one of my friends had one, so yes, made it way easier.
Right. So pretty simple, wood chips in the bottom, screening around the outside, and a roof. We noticed quickly too that predators find them as soon as they are outside. We had hawks and owls
On-
flying around,
Sitting on the cage one day.
landing on the cage. So a roof is imperative.
Yeah, I noticed that we have an owl in our block where the other chickens are, and I've also noticed foxes around a lot more.
Right? It's almost like they can smell them. I'm sure they can.
Yeah,
So
it's awesome.
we've been learning what they can and cannot eat. Yogurt is good for them, good for their digestive tract, which is a really simple tract. I've learned all kinds of things about chickens, but they eat during the day and store it all in a pouch in the front. And then at night, they eat also grit, which is little tiny rocks. And at night, those rocks grind up the food and they excrete all evening. So it's interesting how they digest. So anyway, that was their yogurt, which they enjoyed. This is their first time on a roost, which is instinctual as well. They like to be up, especially at night. And then they're moving into their real coop. This is right before the real combs come in. When they get the comb, the full red comb on the top, that's when they start laying eggs.
Was
And
that
this
like
is,
going through
a
puberty or
dust
something?
bath, which we learned that is important to keep them clean. They scoop dust up under their feathers and wings, and that's supposed to keep insects out and keep their oils down to a minimum, so they're very clean. These birds are so soft and really clean, so that was surprising. That was our first egg, which was exciting to us.
Well, now what did you put in there before the egg? The golf ball.
Oh, right, to train them to lay their eggs in their particular boxes. You can put golf balls in the boxes, and that shows them where they're supposed to lay their egg. Interestingly enough, we have 3 boxes for them to lay eggs in, and they all want the same box. They all
At the same time.
At the same time. So they'll crowd in the same box, no particular reason, they still do that. They enjoy free-ranging outside, but you have to supervise them for the obvious reasons of the predators. And then the last image I have is pretty current, a couple days ago. That's the adult bird peeking out of that's where I pull the door down to get the eggs out of the back. And this one in particular, Summer, is protective of the eggs. So every time I take eggs, she has something to say about it.
Rudy.
Yes, I guess. So those are all the pictures, and I'm happy to entertain any questions about the whole process. But it's been really enjoyable. And as you know, we have this chicken camera that people are watching on. I have 4,000 followers.
Oh my
And-
gosh, you're kidding.
No. and from all over the world. And people write us notes that say, oh, my wife and I watch this before we go to bed. It's very relaxing. I guess like a fish tank. I don't know.
Where is it posted that people are finding it?
It's on something called Mixer, which is a Microsoft platform. And we just put it on there really so I could, number one, I'm a teacher, so I could show my class the chickens. And number two, so we could see them at night and make sure they were okay.
Yeah.
And it just turns out that other people were interested. Which is funny.
So, because it's show and tell, Robin did bring some eggs today, and these are our fresh eggs.
What's the color on those?
They're almost pink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are those all from the same breed because they're so uniform?
They're not, they're from
So
all
they
of
both
them.
they both have
They both
similar
have
eggs.
brown eggs. Mhm.
But we did just have, those are the early eggs. You had a big egg this week.
Right, a double-sized egg we found this week, which we think, we haven't broken it open yet, but we think has a double yolk inside. So, it was giant and a lot heavier.
Now, does what you feed them affect the eggs?
It affects the color of the yolk.
Color, okay.
And it also affects the, like the oyster shells are really important for the thickness of the shell. So eating that, that's a nutritional, keeps the shell hard, harder.
So they're mostly eating, well, especially now, they must be eating feed that you give
Mostly
them.
they eat their feed and they throw them what's called scratch, which is basically corn, cracked corn or sunflower seeds, because they need more protein in the winter to stay warm.
They love clover, so when they're outside and able to be in the dog pen, I mean, I'd be okay with them wandering around my backyard. Robin, not so much. She doesn't want to have the experience of the drowned family where they lost them all to a predator. I don't want to do that either, but they do love being outside
They
and being
do.
able to scratch and go for the clover. I mean, that's like a big feast for them.
Right, they would naturally eat all the greens and bugs out of your garden. In fact, they're supposed to exist symbiotically with a garden. They can easily keep the pests off of your plants, and if there weren't predator problems, we would do that, no problem,
But we don't want to have a sacrificial chicken.
I do not want to lose a chicken.
And they do, when Robin comes up, they start talking, you can hear them. Any other questions? It's a great pick.
I liked it.
Tom, how many hours went into the coop?
25 times more than thought. Awesome.
Okay. Any issues with odors with neighbors or people passing by? Any complaints or concerns?
Nobody has complained to me, and we haven't noticed any odors. They're located near the sidewalk that runs between our homes, and we
They-
haven't,
They can hear when something's going down the sidewalk, and on occasion, I mean, they will get, I think maybe it's more when the hawks are flying, they get a little noisy. I mean, noisy, whatever, you just know that they're paying attention, you hear them go, oh, you know, like, what's up there?
It sounded actually, I confused it for a while, like goose, or geese when they're flying over, that honking, make that honking sound on occasion.
Yeah, but the neighbor behind us, Barbara, she keeps saying, I kept thinking I'd hear them. So
Okay,
she has not said anything.
great.
We live in a neighborhood and we've walked by when we go into town and every time I say, oh, let's see if we can see the chickens, and we never can from the sidewalk, so I don't think if you didn't know they were there, you wouldn't know when you walk by.
Right.
I agree, I don't think you would.
No.
So it's
Okay.
fun. It is a fair amount of work, to be honest. I mean,
The startup was a lot of work, but once they reached adulthood and you establish a routine, it's, going out in the morning and going out in the evening. Actually, 3 times. You have to make sure they're inside when the sun goes down for the predators. And then when it's time for them to go to sleep, turn their lights off. I think it's pretty easy.
Yeah, and the light won't be on in the summertime, you keep the light on in the winter so that they'll lay. You
Right.
need a minimum amount of light in order to lay, what, 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, something?
So you're still getting eggs in the winter.
Right.
Nice.
Well, that's a good point. I guess I hadn't thought about that. If you're traveling or out of town, you need to have someone check in on them and run a few things for you daily.
Chicken sitter.
Water,
Consider.
chicken, yeah.
Right, food and water, for sure. I don't think, you might be able to get away with leaving them overnight, but I've never done that, and, makes it ideal for the 2 of us to have.
They do have an automatic door, and if they were of a slightly higher intelligence, the goal this summer might be to train them to go in when the light changes, just before the door. Maybe it needs to have a bell on it. Ding, ding, ding. No? Because they don't really realize that there's a correlation between dark and the door closing and being inside or outside yet. In the morning, they're right at the door to go out. But in the evening, it's, hello, girls.
Right,
You missed it again.
right, they don't learn from the day before, so,
And they don't go in at night by themselves anymore,
they
still?
don't.
Sometimes a few of them are.
Sometimes a couple of them will go in, I don't know if it's by chance, they're going in for a drink of water and the door closes and they luckily are inside, but,
I actually think we train them not to go in, because when they don't go in, we go and give them food to drag them in, so I think that we've done the Pavlovian training to keep them
maybe,
outside.
maybe,
My
Do-
theory.
Do they play the xylophone?
not at all. Not at all. I did hang up a little baby xylophone in there to see if they would peck at it, but they don't. They're very content though, and,
They do worship the Buddha,
right,
so,
Okay.
okay. Thanks, Robin.
so thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Well, we voted each one or both of them together.
Up to you. I know Marina can't
Can't
vote on
vote.
one of those, so you should
Okay,
probably
so
take them
separate 'em.
separately, yeah.
Okay, so let's vote on this one then first, or you want to get through the next one and circle back?
Up to you.
Bye,
Let's
thank
vote on
you.
this one.
Aye.
I move
Yep,
that
can
we
I,
approve.
second,
Second.
roll call vote,
You can do this by voice.
or voice vote, all in favor?
To abstain.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay,
Carries.
great.
Thank you.
Next,
I think we should have a field trip to meet them.
You can. And then you can have some yourself,
I'd like to.
now that you have the kitty coop. Yes, okay, the drones,
I love the PowerPoint, that was great.
yeah.
Oh, does she need it?
She,
Does she have
no,
a
that's
jump
all right,
drive or
that's all right.
something? Oh, okay.
the children at her school, when they have completed their work, they're allowed to go watch what the chickens are doing. So, it's very, yeah, it's a big deal,
Where does she teach?
up in Waukegan.
Oh, nice.
Great.
The drones, do we need
Our
to?
chickens sit
Yeah, we need,
in Ohio for about 30 chickens.
Well, then you,
And I
chickens.
haul water and feed into the barn and close the barn at night and open it in the morning. And their chickens know to
Yeah.
go in.
I think there could be, if they were allowed to be outside, there's so much space for these chickens to hide under the coop
Yeah.
that they haven't correlated that there's danger if they don't get up and get in, because they haven't been outside. It'll be interesting to see what happens this summer if we have, because we can now put the big dog thing around it and increase their pen area and put a screen on top. You saw the dog
Yeah.
run, which was an expandable, articulated dog pen.
Sort of like the accordion of
Yeah.
wire.
Yes, and so you can, meander it. Anyways, It'd be interesting.
Okay,
Drones, do we need to?
yeah, next one.
Yeah, so the Drown family, unfortunately, they were not able to join us this evening. Their daughter was in a school event. So again, I would emphasize no complaints, no issues, no comments received regarding them. I know at some point here recently, their chickens were taken by a fox. So
Okay.
they're-
That explains,
100%.
that explains the fox I've seen around their house.
Yep. So I understand it was kind of a clean sweep is what I'm led to believe. So they're intending to start over from the sounds of it. And so just because of the timing of this renewal period with it expiring March 1, we want to give the chance to renew that on time. If you wanted to wait until they came back in, I'm sure that wouldn't be
No.
too much of a hardship.
Do we know if there was a failure in the pen or how they were keeping them in terms of how the fox got to them?
I could only venture a guess. A lot of people allow their chickens to roam in their
In
gardens.
the backyard?
And, and that's easy pickings.
Yeah, when I was surprised to see, I mean, sometimes you see at night a fox scooting, through the dark. But the other day in the morning, it was sitting right practically in our front yard, not doing anything. And it was bigger than I expected a red fox to be. I mean, it was decent sized. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna research foxes, and do foxes attack dogs, people, and they really don't.
No,
That's
they're-
more a coyote thing. Although, maybe if you had a little toy dog, but they're pretty skittish. But I was also surprised to hear about them being able to leap and climb over fences. That doesn't bother them. They're not like a dog that
Some
gets to a
foxes
6-foot fence.
Climb trees.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that.
So, we have had skunks in our neighborhood, but oddly, not since the chickens have been there. Robin has seen a possum, but we probably saw a possum before. There has been an owl in our backyard, in my backyard, not related to the chickens, though. I mean, might be, but, it had been there
I
before
think
the
a
chickens.
chicken's a pretty big take for an owl. I'm not sure, but.
For screech owl, it would be. For a great horned, it could
It
do
would be
it.
dinner.
Like a fun-sized
And-
Kit Kat.
And I've had a
It's
Cooper,
big, but you could do it.
I've had a Cooper's hawk in my yard for years.
Yeah, a chicken would be a lot for it, but it would probably try.
So, yeah, again, Robin's put more hours into this. She would not want to, she would not be comfortable with the chickens being just out in her yard.
Covered run. That's why she wants a covered
She
run.
wants a covered run.
Okay.
But not necessary. I would also say, the fact that we waited until July, we had a benefit in the heat, as she explained, but I would suggest that most people get on the chicken bandwagon now, and so that they're ready to lay when it's daylight, for longer, 8 and 9 hours in a day, sun. So.
Okay. Can we get a motion to approve their renewal? Okay, voice vote, second. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, approved. All right, next up, village staff report.
Yeah, so like it says, that's your regular agenda, fast one this evening. We appreciate you guys coming out a few days early to make sure this is smooth. Not a whole lot to report. I do know that the beach erosion ad hoc committee finished their work on Tuesday, so I don't have a full report to give you, but you'll see that soon. Not a lot of positive news there, I think, but certainly some good ideas and some priorities based on different configurations, different levels of funding, more for the community to work through. At the village level, our budget process continues. The finance committee met on this past Monday before the village board meeting. I believe that includes funding for the bicycle project.
Great.
I believe that's my report.
And so once the funding goes through that, then there will be a process of reviewing these with the other boards, architectural review, and you'll schedule those and let us know when those are present so we can, if they have any questions for us, we could show up.
Bingo, yeah. So we've done a little bit of that already. A few months back, we took a couple rack designs to them. Whenever there's money in place, we would bring the final rack design, including that designed inset, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, because we didn't finalize those ideas yet, right?
No.
Okay.
So you'd finalize the design, you'd finalize whatever the inset looked like for those pieces with the decorative insert, and then we'd do some site planning as well, as far as where they go, what the layout is, make that a construction-ready document in essence.
Fantastic.
Do you anticipate that that could be before the kickoff of the 125th? I mean, that we could have racks by,
That'd be nice.
Depends when you consider the 125th starting, if you think that,
January 1st, maybe not, but, I mean, that's, yeah.
Well, we're already
It
started by then.
Yes.
So the real big kickoff to some of this stuff is July 4th. And so potentially you could be in place. I mean, we can't spend the money or commit the money until May 1. And then there's still design to finish and probably shipping time. So it's probably close. But that'd be pretty aggressive to turn the whole thing around in 2 months.
Be nice to
think
get
it would be
done.
nice.
To do.
Yeah,
Be very
it
good.
should be a goal.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what
For
we can do.
summer.
Is the, I can't remember the threshold limit, but the monies that would be allocated for the racks, would you be able to go to a single source, or would you go to multiple sources?
I believe we'd pick one and be a single source. These guys all have cooperative
It's not a
contracts
huge, it's
we
not,
can
yeah.
jump into.
Because I think the biggest thing for them is the rack itself is a standard design, it's the insert, it's a little bit of the custom cutting, and you might even be able to give them a heads up with before the final, with that logo insert, or whatever we decide, or whatever the boards decide, so. But that'd be exciting to have some of those racks finished out for a showcase for all the people that are in town.
Yep.
I just love to see all those racks with, all over town.
Yep.
Be great.
And get rid of the old rusty carousel racks. Okay. All right, members' reports, anything you want to bring up? Okay, co-chairs' reports. I would share that, some of the things, not to promote my company, but I will. We are retained by the city of Chicago to survey the entire Chicago shoreline.
Wow.
And we're using drones to video and map out every part of the shoreline. We also, with the damage that they received from the storms, we did a massive survey with staff from Chicago to go out and survey all of the structures that were damaged.
This
And-
is city of Chicago, okay.
And make assessments of the damage and recommendations, and we're also working with them on long-term planning, because it's not just immediate, cleanup and repair. There has to be a long-term vision for how to stabilize for future storms, and that's no easy task with the amount of shoreline that the city of Chicago has. But there are places that have done wonderful things with providing buffers. Northwestern University did some great things along their shoreline, and there are ways to do it, but it's definitely a process. You do the cleanup, you do the repair, but then you really have to address the long-term, how are we going to deal with this in the future kind of thing.
Have we done anything about our intern?
About the student member? I know President O'Hara is looking at filling both of the vacancies on this board. I'm not sure what the progress is on that.
How's the student position identified before?
I thought it was Ms. Nawar.
That's what I was gonna say, can't we just call her and I don't think it would take very long, or that's not up for us to do?
I think normally the village president has made that call, so I don't want to
Yeah.
step around that.
I will put that on our list.
Oh, and I guess the other question is perhaps there's a Lake Forest Academy or Woodlands Academy student that could also qualify.
I mean, one or the other.
Yeah, from
Not
a
two-
chi- a
not
child-
two
I mean, a
students.
student, no, right.
Gotcha.
A student from Lake Bluff that is in a private school could also benefit from this as well.
Yep.
Especially if Ms. Nawar maybe is not so inclined for some reason.
Okay.
Well, she might, maybe, hard to imagine, but maybe limited number of Lake Bluffers
Right.
doing environmental science. I'm sure there are.
It doesn't seem
There
possible.
gotta be.
The kids are so
I know, but,
into it now.
but that we have gone 3/4 of a year without one.
Right.
It's too late. We should get that person now and have them for all of next
Be a
year as
junior.
well.
Yeah, so have it be a sophomore or
Yeah, but-
junior.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so we get the longer term.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's someone there that would love to do this.
Oh, I have a little update, based on the grant that Lake Forest Garden Club gave to City of Lake Forest, regarding recycling. So that's moving forward, and they've, started identifying a campaign that they're going to do. And so as that gets developed, I can bring it and share it with you guys. You know, it would be totally available for Lake Bluff to modify as desired.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. I know I've seen, I don't think it's part of this grant, but I've seen some of their materials late last year that look pretty snazzy. They're doing some good work.
Yeah,
It's going to get snazzier.
yeah, I don't, yeah. I want to share more, but I feel like I shouldn't until they
Yeah.
go through it. It'll be cute.
Speaking of garden clubs, has our garden club set a date for the dedication of their garden that they did on Washington?
Yes. I
And
think
someone
it's,
so told me that garden's gonna be showcased in they're having a summer walk.
Walk.
Yeah,
Yes, it is beautiful.
Yeah.
Even in the winter, it's really nice.
yeah, so it is still, we're just penciling it out last week, so I'm not sure this is 100%. June 19th is the date we're looking at for the dedication. And then the garden walk,
June 19th. So what time would
Friday?
that be?
that would be a Friday afternoon. I don't have a specific time yet.
It's
I think during
Washington Park, right?
Washington Park, yeah, just north of the western boundary of the central business district, so north of Block 1,
Yeah,
north of the brewery.
yeah.
North of my house.
But isn't it
South of your
on,
house? North of your
North
house.
of my house.
isn't it bordered by Sheridan?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, you said June 19th? That's a Friday?
That's a Friday, yeah, a Friday afternoon.
That walk is when?
So the dedication is tentative. For sure, the walk is scheduled for,
When would a dedication like what time of day would that be?
that, the garden club's
Who
setting it
knows?
up.
Okay.
It sounds like a 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock type of thing, if I was guessing.
Okay.
But nothing set there. The garden walk, looks like the date I have here is July 11th. I know for sure they'll be at they'll be in front of Innovasi at the farmer's market for a few weeks before that to
Good.
provide tickets, things like that.
Okay. If there's nothing else, going to get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you.
Okay, that's the fastest up, right?
Pretty fast.
Pretty fast.
This has to
My
be a
husband will
record.
be confused.